let us know. Hello and welcome to another edition of Behind the Badge. I'm your host, Sergeant Mike Crum with the Berkeley Department of Public Safety. Mark your calendars for the 4th Annual Berkeley Public Safety Golf Outing at Rackham. This year, we will hold our event on Saturday, May 19th. Everyone is welcome, so get 3 of your friends and come join us. We will begin this edition of Behind the Badge with Detective Andrew Hatfield in another edition of Kidz Rule.
According to SafeKids.org, pedestrian injury is one of the leading causes of injury and death to our kids aged 1 to 14. In 2009, 13,000 kids were injured due to pedestrian-related incidents, and 244 kids lost their lives. We want to make sure here at Behind the Badge that we teach our kids how to safely walk down the street, whether going to school, to a friend's house, or just playing around in the front yard. Make sure to walk on the sidewalk and always cross the road at an intersection. If there is no sidewalk, walk towards traffic so you can see the cars coming and as far out of the road as possible, away from the cars.
When crossing at an intersection, look both ways twice and listen for cars before crossing.
If at an intersection that has a walk signal, only enter the road when traffic is stopped and at a white walk signal. If you've started and the light begins to flash, then continue to walk to the other side. If the signal has started to flash before entering the crosswalk, wait for the light cycle to cycle again. When walking to school, try to meet up with friends. Walking to school in a group is more fun and safer as the group is easier to see.
When you get to a crosswalk and there's a car there, let them go first. When walking your driveways, make sure cars aren't backing up.
If walking in snow or rain, be careful to make sure your footing is good before entering any intersection. If it's dark out, wear reflective clothing. We'd like to thank Natalie, Avery, Sammy, and Reagan for their help on this episode Behind the Badge. And we want you to remember to be safe when you're walking with your friends to or from school.
Next, I will introduce you to our newest dispatcher, Cassie Pounders.
Thank you, Officer Hatfield, for those excellent safety tips. This month, I'd like to introduce you to our newest dispatcher, Cassie Pounders. Hello, Cassie, and welcome to Behind the Badge.
Thank you.
Cassie, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Well, I'm a criminal justice student at OCC. I'm married with 3 little kids.
When did you start in the city of Berkeley?
Started in August of 2010 in the dispatch.
Okay, so you started as a dispatcher.
Mm-hmm.
And since that time as a dispatcher, what has transpired?
I've been trained for ACO to fill in for
Animal control officer. Okay.
Yep, to fill in for Officer Briggs when she's gone.
Okay.
I've gone to the fire academy. I went to Groveland Township.
Okay.
Started in April of 2011. Graduated in September of 2011. And I just started the police reserve program at Macomb Community College.
So you've done a lot beyond just being a dispatcher. You do our animal control, and it's a part-time basis with fill in for Gail.
Yep.
Okay. And then, tell me about the fire academy. When did you start the fire academy?
Started that in April.
Okay.
It was till September, but it was a small class, great people out there, but we did everything from ventilation, extrication, just everything about fire just to learn, you know.
And now you're a certified firefighter through the state of Michigan?
I am.
You said earlier you were a criminal justice student, and when did your desire for fire come in?
It really came in when I started here,
Okay.
and seeing all the guys, you know, the officers with, you know, working on their fire and just the public safety, you know.
And that's my next question is you have a desire for the criminal justice, and now we are certified through the police side, through the fire side. And so is your desire now to be a public safety officer?
It is. It's my goal to be a public safety officer for Berkeley.
Excellent, excellent. Now, you said you started the Reserve Academy last night.
Yes.
So the
last
Police
night.
Reserve Academy. Tell us about that, a little bit about the Reserve Academy.
It's everything that you would get in the full-time police academy, just condensed in a shorter amount of time. I go 2 nights a week, some Saturdays.
Okay.
They said we're going to learn everything about law enforcement that they can teach us about, safety on the road and making arrests and everything that they can teach us in that 4-month period.
And you
And then
graduate again
in May.
in May.
I'll
So
be
in
done
May, what can you do here in Berkeley?
I can go out with the officers and ride with them. Basically go out with any events, the Berkeley Days, the Dream Cruise. Hopefully I'll be able to get out
Okay.
and help with that.
And I guess, just to clarify, it is the Reserve Academy, and so anybody can go to the Reserve Academy, be a reserve here in Berkeley if you reside here or work here.
Correct.
Okay, excellent. Now, on the fire side, you're a certified firefighter. What does that translate into Berkeley? You're on the volunteer fire department?
Volunteer fire department.
Okay.
Yep.
That leads me to the fire open house. We
Yes.
saw you at the fire open
I was
house.
there.
Can you tell us a little about that experience?
It was a lot of fun. It was getting out with the community and meeting some of the residents and getting the kids involved. I was stationed down in the parking lot on the hoses, letting the kids turn them on and off, shoot the houses, the little cardboard houses with them.
Excellent, yeah.
And just to see how involved they got was amazing. It was an awesome experience. And then I also worked with the guys to simulate the extrication from the vehicle.
Okay.
And that was a lot of fun, just getting, because I'm newer, so, just to see how they do it and get some experience it was a lot of fun.
Excellent. Well, Cassie, thank you for being on Behind the Badge. And to all of our viewers, this is Cassie Pounders. She's our newest dispatcher, but as you've just heard, she does a lot more than just dispatching here for the city of Berkeley. Next,
Recently, I received several emails requesting additional information about how we trained as firefighters. Next, Public Safety Officer Corey Miller will explain how and why we utilize vertical ventilation.
And we'll have just 2 groups of, actually 2 or 3 people can dress out if they want. But when we do the roof prop, we're going to have 1 person cutting, 1 person being the supporter, backup person. Obviously, we're not very high up. This roof prop is designed to simulate that you've taken a ground ladder to the side of a structure. You've raised a roof ladder. Obviously, the difference between a ground ladder and roof ladder is you got the roof hooks on there. Before you raise the ladder up onto the roof, make sure you deploy the hooks out so it can grasp the peak there. Pour your ladder up. So that's going to be a simulation. You'll walk into here as if you got onto a ladder. You're stepping off onto the roof. Anytime you get off onto a roof or any type of structure like that, you obviously want to get the tools down the roof. This one, we utilized the current prop we had to form this one up. So the rafters aren't going up and down like a normal house would. They're going side to side. So if you do sound it, you don't really need to for this crack footing. Just you gotta keep in mind that you're gonna want to sound it. But you're gonna hear from the weakness as well. It's just gonna be more of a dead or a thud sound when you sound that. So pretty much today we're gonna cover the saws, the cutter's edge, or we have a similar bent saw on 420, and then the 2 K12 type saws. Both of the K12 type saws are very good for putting more of a flat roof. This one in particular has a metal blade on it, so you can cut concrete metal with that one. The other one's got the more aggressive blade on there. I think it's like a warthog blade or something they call that. The thing to keep in mind with that type of blade for cutting wood or cutting this roof, we can do the vent with that. You really want to get the RPMs up on that blade and get that blade spinning, because if you don't, it's going to have a tendency to grab and run away from you. That particular saw, this particular saw doesn't have as much centrifugal force with that blade as, say, this one. And what I mean is when you operate that saw, if you haven't done it in a while, when you get the RPMs up, it's going to want to kick out at you. So if you're working off the side of a ladder, opening up the side of a structure or on the roof, it's going to kick off. When you're on this, you see that it's not at an extreme angle. So one person can be up here and not being off-centered like that. Keep in mind you get an air tack on, you're breathing off your mask, you've got smoke coming out here. It's going to be a totally different environment. We've got snow and ice. Problem is with snow on the roof, when it heats up underneath, it's going to glaze up the shingles and get a small layer of ice underneath there with that snow on top. So a couple things on a ground ladder. When you're stepping on a ground ladder, try to keep your foot at an angle. I know, well, Scott's got some big feet. It looks like Dave's got a little bit bigger foot. Lady 7 or something.
8. Ladies 8.
Try to keep your foot at an angle. If you try to go toes in like that, it's going to cause you to slip off. So keep your foot more of a 90 degree to that. When you're coming up here, we're going to want to start our furthest cut, furthest away from us. So for this application, we're going to say the wind's behind us. We want to be on the windward side of it. That way when we start cutting, the smoke and heat starts coming out, it's not going to hit north faces as much. When we make that cut, we'll want to start with the furthest away, come back at us, and then make your downward. You can do whatever order you want to. It just makes more sense having that further cut. We had an instance with Mary has shorter arms. She couldn't, sitting on the ladder here, even with her backup versus supporter, she couldn't reach out to that further cut over here. So what she was able to do, she was able to put her knee on here and make her downward cut. That's completely fine because you're supported by this. If you made your cut over here or over here and then try to do that, there's no way you can do that. You diminish the integrity of that. Another option, when we get doing this, we're going to use the partner. So I'll Kirk come up here and demonstrate kind of where to grab. If I were to be cutting over here, just kind of grab their leg, their coat, wherever you can. If I'm making my down, I might have to chainsaw front and I might have to knot them back and then just come back there and finish my cut. One thing I don't want to see is I don't want to see somebody standing here making their cut like this. It's feeling awkward. I don't want you to have a tendency to nick your leg or something like that. So try to stand down from your tool.
Difference in these two saws are going to be the material that they cut. Okay, obviously the yellow saw is going to be for metal. It has a metal blade on it, therefore tagged with metal, and this is going to be to cut wood. Okay, there's no reason we can't use a saw like this when we're venting a roof. When we did that with it, it's not ideal. It doesn't have a brake. If you get up there, as aggressive as that blade is, you know, you're going to need to be careful when you're venting with that, because when you swing around, for one, the saw is definitely not as user-friendly as the cutter's edge. But you'll just want to make sure that you're careful with that aggressive blade. You know, this is ideal for flat roof situation. The other thing you want to keep in mind when you're using both these saws is the centrifugal force. When you pick the saw up, you're going to feel the saw do this. Either way, it's going to roll on you. So when you cut with that saw, okay, don't cut with that saw in front of your face. You know, say we're going to take this garage door, we got a commercial building, we're going to cut an entry hole in there, that's our only access. We'll take the metal saw, we're going to cut. Keep that saw away from your face. Use that saw here, and that saw over here, you know, when you make that cut. We don't want to hit a garage door brace, have that come back, you know, pop us in the face. So, just what we want to do in this drill is basically start the saw up, be comfortable. Sometimes it's awkward starting it on the ground. You know, put your foot in there, start it, get it warmed up, and then just run it and see what that saw does a little bit. Okay? And just like the cutter's edge saw, if this saw is called for, it comes off the truck, start that saw at the truck right when you get it off there. Make sure it's warm when it goes up the ladder. The material that they cut. Okay, obviously the yellow saw is going to be for metal. It has a metal blade on it, therefore tagged with metal. And this is going to be to cut wood. Okay, there's no reason we can't use a saw like this when we're venting a roof. And we did that with it. It's not ideal. It doesn't have a brake. If you get up there, as aggressive as that blade is, you know, you're going to need to be careful when you're venting with that, because when you swing around, for one, the saw is definitely not as user-friendly as the cutter's edge, but you'll just want to make sure that you're careful with that aggressive blade. You know, this is ideal for flat roof situation. The other thing you want to keep in mind when you're using both these saws is the centrifugal force. When you pick the saw up, you're going to feel the saw do this. Either way, it's going to roll on you. So when you cut with that saw, okay, don't cut with that saw in front of your face. You know, say we're going to take this garage door, we got a commercial building, we're going to cut an entry hole in there, that's our only access. We'll take the metal saw, we're going to cut. Keep that saw away from your face. Use that saw here, and that saw over here, you know, when you make that cut. We don't want to hit a garage door brace, have that come back, you know, pop us in the face. So,
Kurt is our newest public safety officer here in the city of Berkeley. Next, I get the privilege of introducing him to our community.
Next, I'd like to introduce you to our newest public safety officer, Kurt Karate. Kurt, thanks for being on Behind the Badge.
thank you.
Kurt, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
I'm originally from Caro, born and raised. A lot of people don't know where Caro is. It's up in the middle of the thumb, about 30 miles east of Saginaw. Been married for 10 years. And, 6 months ago, made the big jump down to the city of Berkeley.
That was going to be my next question. When did you start here in Berkeley? So
In July of 2011.
July of 11. What brought you from Caro down to Detroit or Berkeley?
Actually, public safety did. I was a fireman in Caro and also worked for the sheriff's department, and wanted to be able to do both. Liked the idea of public safety. So Berkeley was hired and applied for a job down in Berkeley, and jumped at the chance to be able to be a fireman and policeman at the same time. I was pretty excited about that.
Kurt, let's start with when you entered this public safety field. When did you go to the fire academy?
I originally started the fire academy in October of 1997.
Okay. And that was with the city of
It was with the city of Caro.
Caro. What led you to want to be into the fire department?
My dad was a fireman for 33 years, and since I was a kid, I knew it was something I wanted to do, and I watched him leave on fires since I've been little, and spent a lot of time at the fire hall growing up, and loved it. I couldn't wait till I was old enough to join. So as soon as, back in those days, you had to be 21 to be a fireman. So as soon as I was old enough, I signed up and joined.
And the status of Caro is volunteer. So
Right,
you
we're
volunteered
part
your
paid,
time
correct.
with Caro, okay? And your dad did 33 years in
Correct.
the city of Caro. And I met your dad, and he is a heck of a fireman. So you did the firefighting job. How far did you go in the Caro Fire Department?
When I left the Caro Fire Department, I left at the rank of assistant chief.
So you progressed from firefighter all the way up to assistant chief.
Correct.
How long were you assistant chief?
I was assistant chief for a year. Before that, I was on for 15 years. And I was a captain. I was promoted to captain about 7 years in.
Okay.
So I spent 7 years as a captain and then was promoted to assistant chief.
And we talk sometimes about the different trainings we get in the fire service. And one of the trainings I know you have is Fire Officer 3.
Correct.
And that's an excellent. What led you from fire to police?
I always had an interest to be a police officer, and I worked for the city of Caro for the public works as well as the fire department. And everybody knows how the budget goes in Michigan, and it just was starting to look like there was going to be layoffs and budget cuts, and I had to make a decision. And I have a mentor in Carroll, is the police chief, and we had a good talk and recommended I go through a police academy, which I'd always kind of wanted to do. And so I made the decision to quit what I was doing at the DPW and go through a police academy in 2010, August of 2010, and graduated in December with my MCOL certification.
When you made that transition from a full-time job with the DPW, and then you went to the police academy, were you sponsored, or how'd you get through that?
No, I wasn't sponsored. Luckily, my wife was a good job as a teacher and was able to make things happen while I was in an academy, because it's extremely demanding. It was 5 and sometimes 6 days a week, so I wasn't able to work while I did that. It was a 4-month stretch, so it was a big decision. It was a big jump, but luckily it's paid off. And
when you graduated from the police academy, where did you work?
When I graduated from the police academy, I applied at several different places. Being born and raised in Carroll, I knew, and being a fireman for as long as I have been, I was sort of well known. So I was able to get a job at the Sheriff's Department in Tuscola County, which was nice. It was only part-time. So I worked that until the Berkeley job came up.
Excellent. And now that you're in Berkeley, what do you think about our community?
Oh, I love Berkeley. It's a nice, small town. I never dreamed that it would, when I moved to the city, that it would have a small town feel. I was so surprised when I got down here. What a nice little community it is.
Well, Kurt, we're excited to have you here in the city of Berkeley. You bring a lot of fire experience to our community. We're also excited to have you living in our community now and being a public safety officer.
Thank you.
That's Kurt Karate, and if you see him on the road, make sure you say hi.
Judge Jamie Wittenberg joins us next for another edition of Judge's Corner.
Hello, I am Judge Jamie Wittenberg, and I would like to welcome you to another segment of Judge's Corner. Of the many responsibilities I have here at the 45A District Court, performing marriages is one of my favorites. In the 3 years since I have been on the bench, I have performed almost 50 weddings. For today's topic, I thought it would be beneficial to talk about how someone can apply for a marriage license and what is required to get married here at the Berkeley District Court. The first step in obtaining a marriage license is to contact your county clerk's office for an application. For Oakland County residents, you must apply in person at the Vital Records office or online. The marriage information sheet found on the county's website includes all information necessary to complete the application. Please note that this is not the application for marriage license. There are certain requirements that must be met. You must be 18 years of age and the opposite gender to apply for a marriage application in Michigan. Persons 16 and 17 years of age must show a certified copy of their birth certificate and have written consent of one parent or legal guardian, who must also appear at the time of application with picture identification. For the purpose of marriage application, residency is determined by current valid ID or a driver's license, including a state ID. If you're a Michigan resident, you must apply in the county where you live. If both parties are Michigan residents, you may apply in either county, and the license is valid throughout the entire state of Michigan. If both parties are out-of-state residents, you can apply in the county where you are going to be married, and the marriage license is valid in that county only. The following 3 pieces of information is required of both parties: a valid driver's license or state ID showing current address, a birth certificate, or valid passport. If a passport is used instead of a birth certificate, full names of both parents and the state or country where they were born must be provided at the time of the application. And third, social security numbers of both parties are also required, and that is pursuant to Michigan statute. The cost of the application to get married is $20 per couple in-state, and for out-of-state residents, it's $30. One very important thing to know is that your marriage license will expire 33 days from the date in which you apply. Do not apply for a license if your wedding ceremony will be held more than 34 days from the day that you apply. Once you receive your license, make sure to review it carefully before your wedding date to make sure all the information is correct. If there are any corrections or changes that need to be made, please contact the clerk's office immediately. To set up a date and time to be married here by me at the 45A District Court, you need to contact the civil clerk first. Typically, weddings are performed on Fridays, but with advance notice, we could accommodate most schedules. Unlike the residency requirements of other courts in the area, you do not have to be a Berkeley resident to get married in my court. We do ask that parties provide us with the 3 copies that you get from the county of the marriage license ahead of time, so that the civil clerk here at the court can type in the necessary information prior to the wedding. On the day of the wedding, we require photo ID for the bride and groom. There is a $10 filing fee, and it is against the law for a judge to accept any additional compensation, so don't bring any tips. The bride and groom should bring 2 witnesses to watch the wedding and to sign the license. But don't worry if witnesses are unavailable. We have had, in the past, 2 of our clerks act as witnesses to the wedding, and they can sign the document for you. We also encourage the parties to bring rings for the ceremony. However, it is not a legal requirement to bring a ring, and we have conducted a few ceremonies in the past without the exchange of rings. Most of the wedding ceremonies here at the court do take place in the courtroom or sometimes in my chambers for smaller parties. You can bring as many friends and family as you wish. There's also no dress requirement. I have married brides in wedding dresses, and I've married brides in jeans and a t-shirt. I have performed ceremonies outside the city of Berkeley, including at the Detroit Zoo and at the Southfield Westin, but only for special occasions and with prior permission from the State Court Administrator's Office. After the ceremony, we will provide you with 1 unofficial copy of the license and forward the other 2 copies to the county clerk's office to be certified. Typically, it takes about a week to 10 days for the county to process the license and have them available to the newly married couple. For any couple worried about the cost of getting married, you now see that a wedding here at the 45A District Court in Berkeley can cost as little as $30. As always, if there are any additional questions, please do not hesitate to contact us here at the Berkeley District Court. Again, I'm Judge Jamie Wittenberg, and I will see you next time on another episode of Behind the Badge.
Thank you for joining us on another edition of Behind the Badge. If there's a topic you would like us to cover, please contact us at behindthebadge@berkeleymish.net. Don't forget, May 19th, please join us for our 4th annual Public Safety Outing at Rackham. I'm Sergeant Crum, and I'll see you next time on Behind the Badge.